Yeah, so sort of what you
Okay, boy, everybody's talking this morning. It's good to see everybody. Is my microphone on, or am I just talking to the wind? I don't know. It's pretty.
On the chair of what? Nobody's listening to me.
Oh yeah, okay. So here we are. We're going to open a Marion County Board of Commissioners weekly board session meeting. It is March 13th, 2024. 4 days till the most important.
I don't know about the most important, but definitely a great day.
A really important holiday
day
for Commissioner Willis, which is March 17th, for those of you that, like me, that really don't care. But we're here in the Marion County Senator hearing room at Courthouse Square. It is 9 o'clock. And as always, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Well, if we're a little punchy this morning, it's because we had for me, it was a late night town hall. You know, I didn't get out of there till about 8 o'clock last night, but it was well attended. Under public comment, does anybody want to make public comment? Otherwise, I have Noni signed up. Nobody signed up, okay. We will go right into our consent agenda, and you're gonna get to do it 2 weeks in a row, and it's a long one.
All right. Okay, Mr. Chair, I move the consent agenda under Board of Commissioners, approve orders appointing the City of Kaiser Police Chief Andrew Copeland and reappointing City of Salem Police Chief Trevor Womack and Oregon State Police Lieutenant Chris Zahner to the Marion County Public Safety Coordinating Council with term dates beginning March 14th, 2024 and ending March 14th, 2027. And approve amendment number 1 to the sub-recipient agreement with the City of Aurora to revise Exhibit A1 of the application for the American Rescue Plan Act, downtown core water transmission line improvements, to update project dates, adjust the budget, and update the project team, with no additional funding required through March 31st, 2026. Under Community Services, approve the Economic Development Grant Agreement with Travel Salem in the amount of $235,000 for operational expenses that support marketing and visitor promotion, tourism efforts coordination, and destination development, with an ending term date of 2 years from execution. Under District Attorney, approve the Incoming Funds Grant Agreement with the Oregon Department of Justice in the amount of $1,263,620 to provide Victims of Crime Act funding and criminal fines account funding for victim services, retroactive to October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2025. Excuse me. Under Health and Human Services, approve Amendment 1, the contract for services with Soaring Heights Recovery Homes to add $38,986 for a new contract total of $116,958 to continue to provide substance use disorder services to clients residing in Marion County through June 30th, 2024. Under Public Works, schedule a public hearing for April 24th, 2024 to consider a large mass gathering permit for case number 24-001, White Wind Woodland LLC. Approve incoming funds grant agreement with the Oregon Department of the Oregon Department of Emergency Management in the amount of $216,000 for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, Underserved Rural Community Population and Infrastructure Vulnerability Assessment through March 14th, 2025. Approve engineering and related services contract with AKS Engineering and Forestry, LLC in the amount of $157,020 to provide engineering, land surveying, environmental permitting, landscape, agriculture, architectural, and related services for the Santiam Canyon Parks Recovery Project through December 31st, 2027. Under Sheriff's Office, approve amendment number 1 to the intergovernmental agreement with the Marion County District Attorney's Office to de-obligate for the 2023-2025 biennium $83,833.11 in unspent funds for the Marion County Senate Bill 416 pilot program for a new contract total of $215,424.09 through June 30th, 2025. Approve amendment number 1 to 3 contracts for services with Bridgeway Recovery Services Incorporated to increase grant funding received from the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission in the amount of $40,000 for each of the following services through June 30th, 2025. Community corrections clients receiving substance use treatment services with a new contract total of $344,960. Nonviolent property and drug correctional clients receiving treatment services with a new contract total of $416,156. And individuals participating in the Link Up program with a new contract total of $145,000. And approve amendment number one to the contract for services with the Center for Hope and Safety to increase grant funding received from the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission in the amount of $56,468.03 for a new contract total of $289,129.68 for services provided to victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, and human trafficking through June 30th, 2025. And approve amendment number one to the contract for services with Liberty House to increase grant funding in the amount of $56,467.73 for a new contract total of $289,129.38 to provide services to victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, stalking, and human trafficking through June 30th, 2025. And Mr. Chair, with a little more practice, I could be the clerk over there at the legislature.
Yeah, yeah,
I second that motion, that I was late.
yeah. We have a motion and a second, and I whispered to Commissioner Bethel, I said, "You're lucky." He had to read it this
When we
morning.
read this yesterday, I was like, oh man, that is not why I was
I
late.
almost interrupted you like at number 6 and said, "You want me to read the second half?" Kind of like we do for a proclamation.
You guys,
I
we're
said,
getting a lot done. Going by the consent calendar.
Yeah.
I was like, are we going to
Okay,
do
we have
any
a-
action today?
We have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion that's pertaining to this? No? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Council and I were just talking before we started that some bodies just make a motion to approve the
I know.
consent calendar, but we read it so people know what it is in the record.
We like transparency around here.
Well, also it's for captioning. Although we do read a little fast, if you watch CCTV and turn on your captions, it's like we're reading it and they're not just not knowing what we're doing. Super important to me.
Okay, so our first action item, and I believe Kelly is here with, we're gonna appoint Victor Sanchez to the Marion County Fair Board with a term ending December 31st, 2025. But we also have Dana and Greg with us as well, who, because of the ice storm, were unable to come during their official appointment. So Kelly, why don't you come on up and have our guests, our volunteers, join you.
Well, thank you, and good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kelly Weiss. I'm the Economic Development Program Manager here at Marion County, and one of the many initiatives of our Economic Development Program is our annual county fair. As the largest agricultural producing county in the state, we consider the fair to be super important to our economic development goals and really align, because our efforts are to support 4-H and FFA youth at the fair, and that totally makes sense for our future as our agricultural producing county. Today we're here to talk about the opportunity to appoint Victor Sanchez to the Marion County Fair Board. But as Commissioner Cameron mentioned, we're also using it as an opportunity to introduce Greg and Dana. They were appointed at the January 18th board session and didn't get a chance to come, so we thought it would be a good chance for them to introduce themselves. So the Fair Board's role is really to serve as the agency charged with the responsibility of organizing, promoting, and managing the Marion County Fair. And our fair's mission is to promote the diverse agricultural and cultural heritage of Marion County through active participation of its citizens. And the Fair Board is really a great opportunity to really dive in as volunteers, understand how the fair works, and not only that, but actually be there, boots on the ground, monthly for our Fair Board meetings, but most importantly at the fair itself. They are the ones running around making sure everything's going smoothly, checking in with our event coordinator, checking in at the office, checking in with the other volunteers that make the fair happen. So we couldn't do it without our awesome Fair Board. And I'm super excited to have them all here. It's very neat. So the Fair Board members are appointed by our Board of Commissioners, so that's why this item's here today. And we have all three of them here to introduce themselves. I don't know who you want to start with. Go ahead.
I'm Greg Martin. I served on the board as a key volunteer for a year. I took over the honor day on Thursday for first responders and military and their families to get in free. For this next year, I have 2 speakers lined up. Our new county sheriff, Hunter, and my former first sergeant when I got activated on active duty, who also is a retired Deschutes County sheriff. I've got the Department of Corrections Honor Guard to post to retrieve the colors, and some, I think the same guy from the National Guard singing the national anthem.
Well, great, thank you. We used to have a county commissioner that would sing the national anthem, but none of us are volunteering. Commissioner Carlson used to do that, yeah. Well, thank you for your service, and welcome.
Thanks,
Yeah, it's good to see you. Dana, if you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, commissioners. It's nice to be here. Thank you for bringing us back despite the ice storm the first time around, so this is going much better. I am Dana Castano, and I actually, you all know me from volunteering on the Marion County Extension and 4-H Service District Budget Committee for the last couple of years. So I was actually looking to volunteer some more for the community, and this opportunity presented itself, and so I'm really excited to be able to be a part of the group and help make the fair happen and run around and make it actually function on the day of. But I've always almost always have lived in walking distance of the fairgrounds, so the fair has been part of my life, both the state and the county fair, since forever. So I am just happy that I'm able to do something that, you know, my family's gonna be able to come and enjoy, and other people in the community. So I don't have a specialty like Greg does yet, but working on figuring that out. Probably will be helping out with the community stage and getting that going, so I'm really excited.
Great, thank you for your service also on the OSU Extension Budget Committee.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Victor, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Victor Sanchez. I'm really excited to join the board. I've lived in Salem, Kaiser for 34 years already. And just like she, I used to live right in front of the fair. And my dad would work there, and I would love going to the Marion County Fair and the State Fair as well. So we were right across the street. And I decided to volunteer and try to make a positive impact. I've volunteered my whole life as well in different organizations. Currently, I'm volunteering for the Mid-Valley Soccer Club, and you know, there was a availability in the Marion County Fair, so I decided to join and make a positive impact and get my feet in there and get my voice heard. So I'm really excited for that. So thank you.
Oh, great. What was it you said you volunteered for?
He said Mid-Valley Soccer.
Mid-Valley Soccer Club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was surprised you weren't jumping in, but you were coughing. Yeah, Mid-Valley Soccer.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with soccer. That's like a,
Really?
yeah, it's like a
Yeah, I have
not so little secret around here.
I have 3 kids, and they're all actively playing soccer, so soccer is my life. So I'm glad we have something in common.
Yeah, I saw that the Portland Pilots ladies beat Gonzaga yesterday.
Is that right?
And Gonzaga had a 24-game winning streak.
That's
And
awesome.
they beat them to go to the NCAA tournament.
I feel great about that.
So do you notice I just pay attention to soccer now?
No, I'm impressed.
Okay,
I'm super
good.
impressed.
But
Well, I
what-
still don't, but good for you.
I don't know how my Denver Broncos are doing in the free agency though. Hey, thank you both, or all 3 of you, for serving. Sherry's around here. She's in the back taking pictures, photos. Volunteers are extremely important to the work that we get done in Marion County. We couldn't do everything that we do without your service. And the hundreds, actually thousands of hours that are given by all the volunteers. And we know the fair is driven by volunteers, not only board members, but the volunteers that, hopefully become board members later, key volunteers that do that. So thank you very much for your service. And you can hear by your testimonies that you're not just doing this, you're doing other things in our communities and in our state and in our country. So thank you very much for your service. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Cameron, can I piggyback off of that and say, anybody who's in the audience or watching, there are lots of opportunities to participate in the fair, including those key volunteer positions. So if you are at all interested, please reach out to our Community Services Department. We'd love to hear from you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, great.
All right,
Are
we're
we,
ready.
are we doing a board session there this year on Thursday?
You are.
Thursday.
I'll be out of state for a
Thursday.
meeting, but
Yeah.
you two are.
Yeah, okay.
And I will miss it. I'm so bummed. But next year, you'll have doubled the greatness of that introduction. I'm sure of it. All right, I move to approve an order appointing Victor Sanchez to the Marion County Fair Board with a term ending December 31st, 2025.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. And just to clarify, Dana and Greg were appointed earlier formally, and today is the formal appointment of Victor. That's why his name is the one that's read. So, any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I may, while I do think it's a great thing that Victor also likes soccer, that is not why I'm voting to appoint him to the Fair Board. It's because I think he'll do a great job as a member of this board.
Okay. I think, hey, I've been in the dog bite suit, a few times at the fair, and I'm honored to do that. I think you guys ought to put on like a one-on-one soccer
Soccer match.
demonstration.
Don't tempt me. I was thinking about a tournament. I think
Yeah.
having a youth soccer
Well, then maybe
tournament
you
at the
could
fair
join
would be
the
a great
Fair Board
idea.
Commission.
All right, I'm going to call for the vote
Thank
before we
you.
go too far down this road. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Victor, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Dana,
Thank
Craig,
you.
thank you. Our next item is under Community Services, and it's to approve an incoming fund grant agreement with Oregon Business Development in the amount of $1 million to support community planning projects for the North Santiam Community Self-Determination Project through November 30th, 2026. Larry.
Hello, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Before you today is an intergovernmental agreement with Oregon Business Development Department for $1 million in incoming funds for a suite of 6 community planning projects. For the uninitiated, back in 1996, when they established the Opal Creek Wilderness, as part of the legislation that established the wilderness, Congress promised $15 million to the communities of the North Santiam Canyon for economic development projects. 26 years later and a wildfire later, Marion County, in partnership with Oregon Business Development Department, made the ask through congressionally directed spending and brought that $15 million down to the state level. And now we're in the part of the federal process where we bring the funds down from the state level to the county level to put into action. And so these funds are going to support 6 planning projects, 1 planning project each for the 4 communities out there of Agana, Detroit, Gates, and Mill City. And then another planning project for that encompasses the entire region, and then another project specifically for the North Fork Recreation Corridor.
I love how you skipped right over the name that we keep trying to change. Well, rather Commissioner Cameron does. The Opal Creek, not Opal Creek.
Well, it's the
Promise.
North Santiam Community Self-Determination Project.
There you go. I like that. That's good.
Yep, and that name came about because a hallmark of all of these planning projects are for deep community outreach to be incorporated into it, so that way all of our public comments and all of our public wishes for economic prosperity are incorporated into our plans and into our work as we continue moving forward in the long-term recovery.
I think it's important to state that while it's advertised everywhere on posters, which I didn't know we had, that it's Opal Creek Promise dollars, the clarification needs to be had, which is why we're calling it something different, because there's a lot of people, I think, well, I don't know about a lot, but there are people who would really like to see Opal Creek post-fire come back to some level of valid recovery, and while I would too, these dollars are not designated just for that. And it's just for the region, and it has to do with the purpose way prior, I don't know how many years ago prior.
96.
Some 1996. So I think we have to do a better job of the clarification piece. And I know you're gonna do that in the outreach program with the contractors that you've hired, the consultants, to help folks provide input to us that are not specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, just to clarify that, in fact, you could argue that in some ways the promise was specifically not for Opal Creek. It was when they took Opal Creek and the revenue that came from timber harvest in that area out of the community, the promise was to put some money back in the community for economic development. So in some ways, you could argue that the money that was promised was specifically not for the Opal Creek wilderness. It was for the people who were impacted by that turning into a wilderness. So.
Yeah. So now all we need is the Santiam State Forest promise, since they just passed a
you were
HCP
gonna
that's
say
gonna
that.
take away about 60% of the revenue from state forest harvest. So we need that promise.
That's right.
Am I being facetious? No, I'm being true.
No, you're being real.
Okay,
We'll
let's
talk about
not-
that later.
Larry, you don't have to write that down.
But I love that you did.
We'll tell you about that
But
afterwards.
we'll be working with the governor's office for something along those lines. We'll see what happens. Okay,
Right for a-
I'll
Maybe
take
we should do
it.
the Oregon Board of Forestry. I'm just saying, this is ridiculous.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the incoming fund grant agreement with the Oregon Business Development Department in the amount of $1 million to support community planning projects for the North Santiam Community Self-Determination Project through November 30th, 2026.
I second the motion.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to say thanks to Larry and your team for getting us here. I
Yep.
know nothing's easy at the state. You're finally getting the money in the bank, and now we can go really do the work. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, Larry. All right. Next item is under Health and Human Services. I believe, is it you, Katrina? All right. We're going to consider the second title reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend and certify the Marion County Ambulance Service Area Plan as shown in Exhibit B.
Do you want her to come present again? I think is
I-
the curiosity.
I don't think we need to,
Great.
unless she.
She's just getting her steps up and down
Unless
the
she,
chair.
unless she wants to. I'll need a motion to read the ordinance.
It says motion made that the chair read the ordinance by title once. So I make
Correct.
the motion that the chair read the title by, the chair read the ordinance by title once.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, and the chair is bringing up the title. Let's see, there we are.
We
It's right
seconded it.
here.
Did a motion and a second. We haven't voted on it. Mr. Chair, do we need to vote on that? A motion
We have
was
a
made that
motion
you-
and a second, and I'm bringing up the title before we vote on it, just so I have it there. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. In a matter of amending the ambulance service area ordinance and plan certifying the ambulance service area. Okay, so I read the title, and now
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt the ordinance.
I second the motion.
we have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Any further discussion? It's only been a year and a half worth of work. Thank you so much for your work, and things are ever changing, as we saw Monday night, so.
Not because of Marion County.
We will entertain a vote if there's no further discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance, adopting the ordinance, signify by saying aye.
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 Yay.
Thank
Well
you.
done. I will see you again.
All right. Next item, under Health and Human Services, consider approval of contract for services with HIV Alliance in the amount to $259,401 to connect individuals diagnosed with HIV and their contacts to care and treatment through December 31st, 2026. And Wendy, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Wendy Zeker, Public Health Division Director, and I have with me Mercedes Floyd.
Hi,
Welcome.
pardon me. My name is Mercedes Floyd. I'm the Nurse Program Manager for Clinical Prevention Services over at the clinic. We're here seeking approval for contract 5588-23 in the amount of $259,401 with HIV Alliance. This will connect individuals diagnosed with HIV and their contacts with care and treatment through December 31st, 2026. This contract will include linking newly diagnosed HIV-positive individuals and those who have fallen out of care to appropriate treatment. What it does not include are harm reduction services or the development and implementation of harm reduction services. The contract will report quarterly and meet monthly in person at our Marion County Health and Human Services building at 3160 Center Street to discuss new cases, outreach strategy, and event planning. We'll be sure to forward these reports on to the BOC as well. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
No, thank you. I think that was very thorough, and you answered all my questions. Good
Okay.
job.
Have a great morning.
I'm good.
Wait, we're not done.
Oh.
Sorry? They're running off. We still have motions to make. I mean, you're welcome to leave in the middle, I guess.
Well, then we don't
She's like,
just-
I'm out of here. This
She's
is your
like,
first
it's in
time in
my-
front of us in this room,
I
right?
think
It
you
is.
want,
Yes.
I think you want us to approve your contract.
That would be wonderful.
All right.
All right,
I'm
Mr.
hoping we're
Chair.
not scary.
I move that we approve the contract for services with HIV Alliance in the amount of $259,401 to connect individuals diagnosed with HIV and their contacts to care and treatment through December 31st, 2026.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thanks, Natalie. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
all right. And still under
Mercedes, not
Health and
Natalie.
Human Services, consider approval of incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority in the amount of $140,116.27 to provide funding for intoxicated driver program fund retroactive to January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Carol, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Carol Hurd, and I am the Addiction Treatment Services Division Director with Marion County Health and Human Services. And as stated, I am here today seeking consideration of approval for incoming funds from the Oregon Health Authority in the amount of $140,116.27 for use through June 30th of 2025. These funds are specifically to provide financial assistance for treatment services to individuals either convicted of DUI or going through DUI diversion services. Historically, these funds had been included in the Community Mental Health Program, Mental Health and Addiction Treatment and Problem Gambling contract with OHA. And a portion of these funds were then subcontracted to other substance use treatment providers in the community who also provided these services. However, this year, the funding has been separated from the larger IGA, and Oregon Health Authority has chosen to contract with community treatment providers directly instead of passing them through the county. So these funds are specifically intended for Marion County Addiction Treatment Services, providing services to individuals going through treatment for DUI. You have any questions?
What does that mean? What kind of treatment are you providing?
So we have, for individuals who are coming into services because of a DUI, they have to go through an ASAM assessment just like anybody else. And then we go through, we have specific OARs that we have to meet regarding DUI laws, so Oregon drinking and driving laws. And then we also ensure that they are clinically ready for discharge before we close them from treatment services. And then they also have to receive, for those who have been through a conviction, they have to receive a completion certificate that goes back to the DMV to release their driver's license before they can be reinstated.
Is it just for alcohol?
It is not.
Okay.
It's any
all
substance.
intoxicants.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Questions? Okay. Take a motion.
I move to approve the incoming funds intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority in the amount of $140,116.27 to provide funding for the Intoxicated Driver Program Fund retroactive to January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank
Thanks,
you,
Carol.
Commissioners.
Have a good day.
Okay, next item is Juvenile Department. And Alicia is here to consider approval of the contract for services with McDonald Wholesale Company in the amount of $1,044,000 to provide food products and distribution services for the Marion County Juvenile Department and Fresh Start Market through March 1st, 2029. There you are.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Alicia Kozad, Deputy Director with the Juvenile Department here in Marion County. And As you stated, we're here for your consideration for the approval for this contract with McDonald's Wholesale Company in the amount of $1,044,000 to provide food products to both of our culinary program that provides food for our detention program and our GAP shelter program, as well as for the culinary program to make items to sell at the market. Last year, in July 1st of 2023, we ended our contract with Trinity Food Services, and our goal was to provide better quality food, larger portions for youth in our care, and we wanted a main source that we could order the majority of the products that had what we needed. And so we did an RFP. It sounds like we were exempt from having to do an RFP with 24/7 facilities, but because we were including the market, we went out for an RFP, and McDonald Wholesale was the only company to respond. We do still have a purchase order agreement through price agreement with the state on U.S. foods. So we have some other options if McDonald's doesn't have what we need. And we've picked up things if it's short order at Winco or Costco. But this is the bulk of where we get our food. They provide personalized services. We have a personal representative who comes out and trains our employees on how to use their system. We can create our own order
guide.
Yep, order guide, and they provide recipe building, which allows us to easily cost out the price of recipes.
Importantly,
Just to clarify.
this is not McDonald's where you get a Big Mac. As much as I wish it was, and I would be the first one going to the juvenile department, get a
that's
double
hilarious.
cheeseburger with a small fries and orange soda, just in case anybody's wondering.
I always go large fries.
That
but-
is not what we're doing here. We're getting healthy food for our
Yeah, I don't go to McDonald's. In-N-Out Burger, maybe.
They charge for ketchup now at McDonald's, 25 cents a packet.
Is that right?
You gotta be kidding
Not even
me.
joking, this morning, a friend of
Oh
mine
my
who has, anyway, she went there yesterday and they charged 25 cents a packet. I thought, what is wrong
It's
with
just
America?
evidence of the decline of Western civilization.
Seriously.
That's what it is.
How am I gonna fill my Heinz bottles going forward?
So 4 ketchup packets would equal
$1?
a raise East Salem Public Safety Service District.
That's it.
And also the same cost of any drink through happy hour at McDonald's because it's $1 for any size during their
All right.
happy hour.
Okay, we always have so much fun up here.
Yeah, we do.
This is McDonald Wholesale Company, not McDonald's. Okay. I'll
fun
take
as
a
that
motion, unless you have any further questions.
No, and I guess I would just say I'm very happy, Alicia, that you're here, even though you didn't
Thank you.
beatbox for us.
I did not.
Noted for the record.
All right, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the contract for services with McDonald Wholesale Company in the amount of $1,044,000 to provide food products and distribution services for the Marion County Juvenile Department and the Fresh Start Market through March 1st, 2029.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second, and just to clarify, that's up to, so it's not like we're handing them a check for that amount. It's a purchase agreement to allow you to purchase up to that amount. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
go eat.
I just have to say, you know, I keep, not for, sorry, Alicia. We hear from residents of Marion County all the time in different ways. And the other day I was doing an activity, it's campaign season, and a gentleman was speaking to me and he said, I watch your guys' meetings. And I thought, really? Good for you. And thank you. And he said, you're so fun and real. I don't even feel bad about the fact that we're just real people on the record because people enjoy our entertainment. They laugh along their side themselves as they're working at their computers.
Okay, so Kelly was there last night,
Yeah.
right? She says, you were like Phil Donahue going around.
Seriously, you totally look like that too. She's so right.
Huh?
We had a town hall in East Salem last
Oh my
night. She's
gosh.
100% right. You look like Phil Donahue.
Oh my gosh.
And also, you snatched that microphone a few times like him too. I was like, okay, we're
Yeah,
moving
you're
on.
done. All right, Ryan. Here we are, Public Works. Approve a construction contract with Pacific Excavation, Inc., utilizing federal funding in the amount of $347,335 for Central Street improvements in the city of Gates.
All right.
right. Good morning. For the record, Ryan Crother, Marion County Public Works Capital Projects Manager. And as you said, we're talking about our construction contract with Pacific Excavation on Central Street and Gates. Project's located between Santiam and Horeb Street. You can see there the red square shows kind of the location that we're going to build this project. Existing conditions, the fire obviously damaged the properties. There's no sidewalks, there's no infrastructure other than the roadway. So what we're looking at is building the first of many kind of downtown frontage improvements. We've got sidewalk, we've got pavers, lighting, storm drainage. It will look like a downtown facility. We've worked with the property owners to locate driveways. We've worked with the city to kind of look at their vision for the area, and this is the first block. So the low bid came in from Pacific Excavation. It was $335. This is an ARPA project. Community Services was awarded a state ARPA grant for this project. So it's funded at 100% through ARPA. There is no county funding expected to be used with the current bid. And the construction completion is June 30th, 2024 per the contract. The contract end date is in 2025, but all work is expected to be completed by the end of June, assuming no change orders or material supply issues. So with that, I'd ask if you have any questions.
I don't have any questions, but like 4 years ago, when I first became a commissioner, I sit in this, or that chair there rather, and listen to you talk about all the road projects. And at the time, we hadn't even started on like any real wildfire work. And here we are into, almost 4 years into this fire. And we've approved a substantial amount of contracts in the last 60 days for wildfire recovery work. I honestly didn't think we would ever get here. Like, even when we started back with some of the conversations that we were having back in 2021, it's just so great to see that we're really finally moving ahead. And I say that not to be critical of anything. It's just the process and how government works. It's kind of refreshing, that like in a year from now, you'll actually be able to visually see the work that the county has been doing behind the scenes since the wildfire to recover these communities. And I hope that people are able to kind of connect the dots. I never would have known if I hadn't been a commissioner through this, really what the county does for the people who live here, and truly how grateful we are to live in Marion County, a county who has taken such a very proactive approach in making sure all the small communities remain whole and not become defunct or fall out of their incorporation because of the tragedy of the wildfire, because that could have very easily happened. And this is just another very small example, and it's a very small section of the roadway, which I kind of berated you about in the works that are in our management update recently, not you, rather, Chris. Like, is this gonna be anything? It doesn't really matter. But after I thought about that, it totally matters. And I know it's just a very small section of road, but it's like the Yellow Brick Road, right? It's gonna lead to this pathway of greatness that this $1 million we just approved a bit ago for Larry's project, that's gonna compound. So thanks for hanging in there with this, Ryan. I know on the scale of things that you're doing for Marion County, this is probably the size of an anthill, but within that hill is the mountains of things you're working on, and this is great. So.
Well said.
And I've got to say thank you to my team because I'm the face you see here, but
Sure.
We've got a lot of engineers and project managers working behind the scenes that do the majority of the work.
Someday you
they're
should
the
drag
ones-
them all down here so we can like point them out, make them uncomfortable like we do you every time.
Well, good. I know this is kind of a model home is what I would call it. Like we're building this little
Right.
section of the
Yeah.
road to show people what it could look like. I just want to make sure that there's a plaque at the end of this thing that explains that this was built in 2025 as a sample of what the town of Gates could look like
Stop.
in the future.
No, it's gonna be complete this year. this year, this
What-
summer.
But it's just gonna be a little section of the,
Well, you can put the plaque on, but it's completed in
the road.
2024 is my point,
It's
and
like-
you're not wrong.
It's gonna be like this bridge, right? What was the start of this thing? I'm really having a hard, Gates wants this, right?
They do, yes.
I think one of the things that I've seen, Commissioner Cameron, you know this is true, is that the recovery in the canyon has been by inches, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a football game. You gotta get that first down, and the next first down, the next first down, and kind of you build on it, and you know, here we are 4 years later, and we have a lot of progress to show. But I remember that first drive up the canyon with you, I was so depressed, because I just,
How do you, where do you start?
it was so massive, right? The task was so huge, just trying to rebuild. And one of the things that I think is a
Well,
credit
there was
to-
trees still on fire when we drove up there.
That's right.
Propane tanks still squirting out flames.
And Detroit looked like a bomb had hit it. I mean, literally, the place was leveled, and it's a credit to you and to Jan and Sam and you, Commissioner Bethel, and everybody who we've worked with over the last 4 years, that we just got to work. We didn't dwell in the kind of enormity of it all, but we just said, all right, what's the next task, and what's the next task, and what's the next task, and now you can really see progress.
Yeah, and I just hope, you know, I hope we can get the sewer system up into Gates, you know, that we can find additional dollars for them to improve this Central Street area and have a nice, I mean, you know, if they get a sewer system in there, that whole other north side of the highway, you know, where there's the Mexican restaurant and the market, you know, that used to be a kind of a viable commercial area. Hopefully that'll come back again. It's going to take a long time, but that sewer system will be a critical part. This would be a nice model home to say this is what the future could look like if we could find the funding to help them. So, okay.
You make me want to have a bean and cheese burrito for lunch. That Mexican restaurant's phenomenal. I can't remember the name of it. Do you know what it's, Chris? Oh, it's in Gates. It's really good.
Gates Mexican food.
Yeah, so good.
That's what we call it.
All right.
Okay.
Is that my motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the construction contract with Pacific Excavation Incorporated, utilizing federal funding, the amount of $347,335 for Central Street improvements in the city of Gates.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, Ryan, you're still here.
I am still here.
See you, Chris.
Consider approval, thanks, Chris, for your work on that. Consider approval of the supplemental project agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation in the amount of $1,604,814.44, of which an estimated $1,440,000 will be paid with federal funds, and an estimated $164,814.44 will be paid with county funds for the preliminary engineering phase of the North Fork Road Improvements Project through April 1st, 2034.
Is that right?
It is. It's the way ODOT does their IGAs. They always put them out 10 years. This
I
is
don't want it to be 2034, 10 years from now, is my point.
So this is actually, first off, for the record, Ryan Crowther, Capital Projects Manager. This is congressionally directed spending, so we cannot wait till 2034 for this project. We have to, what we call obligate construction by 2025. ODOT doesn't change their process for IGAs no matter when your end date is. They will always give you 10 years on the IGA, just in case there's something we have to wrap up. We'll have construction done well before that. So I'll jump in a little more here. Like you said, this is our North Fork Road Improvement Project and the IGA with ODOT. Our project location, so what this project is we are looking at creating what we're thinking of as gateways to the North Fork corridor. There's a location, number 1 at milepost .35. That's where the original gate on North Fork Road was located. We actually own a significant amount of right-of-way at that location. There's already an old road alignment. It just really lends itself to being a viable spot to put this. We're also looking at 2 other locations, number 2 and number 3, one on Gates Hill and one on Pioneer. Those are more, if we have funding, we can find a feasible way to construct them, we're gonna look into those as optional locations. So the scope, like I said, is to create these corridor gateways. Excuse me. Exactly what that means is yet to be decided. We're going to bring a consultant in who's done similar projects on other corridors, and then we're going to bring you guys into the conversation as we really start into design to look at what this ultimate design looks like. Some of the improvements that may be included are parking spaces, fee stations, informational kiosks, so that as people enter this corridor, they can see where they can go, what parks exist, pay any Marion County parking fees. At this time, any auxiliary travel lanes that might be required to get people back onto the road, shoulder parking areas, signage, traffic control, fencing. There's a lot that'll go into this, but you can think of it as that location that people can get information so that they can plan their trip in if they've never been there. They can pay their fees without trying to find a kiosk. They can really just simplify their trip into North Fork. So the budget, like I said, this is congressionally directed spending. So it is the standard 89.73% federal share. And so that is $1,440,000. And our county share is 10.27% or $164,814. The schedule, I show preliminary engineering beginning in 2024, assuming you approve the IGA. And construction I have listed for 2026 because that's when the public will really see construction. That's when our contractor would be on the road. But like I said, we'll have to have it bid in late 2025. So you will see kind of a final plan set by the end of 2025. With that, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Oh, this is a good thing. We've been talking about it for years, to try to improve the experience up there and protect the area from being overrun. So we'll see how it works, and the IGA with our federal partners will be important, because you mentioned we would collect Marion County fees, but the ideal goal is we'd have an IGA that we would collect everybody's fees and not, just pay one fee, and we would figure out how we're going to share that down the road. Kind of like a national scenic area where you have different jurisdictions that are working together to try to keep it going. So there's some examples. I think there's one in Arizona that Sergeant Frerin had looked at, and some other places. So we've been talking about this, Ryan, so I really appreciate that we're getting it done. I thought we would just build like a little tiny home on wheels and put it out in the middle of the street and have somebody holding out flyers, but it's a lot more complicated than what a hamburger flipper thinks we could do. So appreciate it.
Okay, I move to approve the supplemental project agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation in the amount of $1,604,814.44, of which an estimated $1,440,000 will be paid with federal funds, and an estimated $164,814.44 will be paid with county funds for the preliminary engineering phase for the North Fork Road Improvement Project through April 1st, 2034.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And just the thought, can we make sure that Kevin has this on his agenda with our North Fork meetings?
Kevin in Parks,
that he's sharing this information and the schedule of what we're doing with them. I'm sure he does, but
we've been working very closely with Parks and
Perfect.
Others on this one, just to make sure that we don't build something that won't work for everyone.
yeah, I just want to make sure our federal partners understand it. Okay, good. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thanks, Ryan.
Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, that completes our work for the day. You want to share what we learned last night or anything else? By the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
On your election?
My election, I drew
Yeah.
no opponents, which is humbling and shocking at the same time.
Yeah, it was a good meeting last night. I feel like it was, public safety is obviously top of mind for everybody. We were out in East Salem, had at least 100 people were there.
Yep.
Maybe more. And we had a robust conversation about about how to improve public safety out there, what kind of resources we need to do it. And I think we'd be in the wrong business if we didn't enjoy that sort of interaction, you know,
Yeah.
where people from our community come and they take ownership of the community, and there's some strong feelings and arguments, but at the end of the day, I think everybody really felt convicted that it was a good thing to come together like that to try to address some of these issues.
Yeah, I appreciated the gentleman in the kind of the middle front perspective when he asked some really good questions about the costs. And at the end, you know, I know there's always somebody who wants to kind of create some like a realist perspective as to like what we're talking about. And as he was doing the math for himself, he was like, so we're talking about like 2 Starbucks a year is what you're asking me to forego in order to have like this
A real police
number
presence.
of officers dedicated to the ESSD. And his face was just kind of like, are we really having this conversation right now?
Why is this even a question? That's right.
And, you know, and then a little later he asked some other important questions. And everyone's questions were important, but for me, the ability for him to connect the dots to, one, he knows the officers in the East Salem Service District are critical to just the livability over there. Understood that if they go away, things would be drastically different, and he would definitely see the crime that exists. He hears of it, but afterwards he and I chatted, and he was like, you know, I read this in the paper, I hear it in the news, but I don't see it. I don't know, you know, and I know there was folks in there that were a bit dismayed about the conversation, but that's just kind of the pressure of life. I feel like we're asking them to join us in this big decision, and that it's heavy. It's a heavy decision, and yes, it's 2 Starbucks a year currently, is what we're asking for them to forego in order to maintain these 10 dedicated officers. But
2 Starbucks
yeah, what did I say?
a year.
A month.
Oh, a month. A month. Is it a month?
Yeah, 2 a month.
Well, $1 a month is not a Starbucks.
It's $12 a year.
Increase. Yeah.
Increase.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so just to be
Yeah.
clear, it's $12 a year increase is what we're asking them to
yes,
maintain
yes.
the committed 10 FTE,
Yeah.
which is approximately 2 per shift officers that respond over there. So that is, I mean, I drink Starbucks, and it costs me about $5.80 every time I go. I know exactly because I buy the same thing. And to the point, though, it's like it doesn't feel like it's that much money when we talk about it, but it is a decision that we want them to participate in, so that way we are including them, because the work we do is important to them and to us and their participation. And I was happy with the turnout and the discussion, and I look forward to the continued discussion of this particular topic with the residents over there.
And I think we just have an awareness that, this increase might only be 2 Starbucks a year,
Yep.
but we know that all of us are facing increases in our whole lives,
Yeah.
right? So we don't want to be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
One of the comments that I got afterwards, which really meant something to me, was a gentleman came up to me afterwards and said, because we did this sort of like raise your hand if you support this fee, and the majority of folks did raise their hands. And this guy came up to me afterwards and said, I just want you to know, I have sort of a different perspective than most people here, but I came into this meeting with a very negative attitude.
Oh.
And I just want you to know that I'm very supportive of what you did in this meeting and how you brought people into this discussion. And if it ends up that we have to raise this fee to keep these police officers, I'm not going to be mad about that, because I just feel like you guys did such a good job of making this our decision rather than just imposing it on us. So I think that really resonated with me.
Yeah. We have a good group of residents over there. And also, we're not new to them.
Yeah.
There's the 2 neighborhood association meetings a month. And while they would love it if we came to everyone every single month, when we do go, they appreciate it. And I guess the point of us not being new, they know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And just being there to have the conversation really, I think it did mean a lot.
Yeah.
To everybody, even the people that are frustrated by even the conversation, because again, they're feeling the pressures of life and the costs that come with it right now. Because it is a burden, everything, and as you suggested, it wasn't like somebody asked you when they imposed the, utility fee on you.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't asked when Pacific Source, rammed my electric bill through the roof in January. which is a much greater impact, frankly, across the board. And that's I'm very frustrated by that, as I've talked about several times, how I think that's completely inappropriate. They just don't care, and we do.
I did, speaking of utility bills, I did the math because we had that gentleman that had said, we got that email, I think, and I sent it off to Wendy. And I went and looked at my utility bill from PGE last year versus this year, my most recent one, and compared them. And you got to look, I mean, if you look at your utility bill, all the different stuff that's on there, all the different charges, but the kilowatt per hour rate was up 29%. And when you added the two together, and so 30% is accurate. And then I went and looked at consumer power because I have a consumer power utility, and it was only up 10%.
Yeah.
And the bill is really simple. It's like boom, right? There's two things on there. The basic charge, though, here's the deal: the basic charge at consumer power is like $31, and the basic charge at PG is only, if I remember right, $13. So there's, I mean, you have to.
Yeah, but PGE has 150,000 more customers than consumer power.
Right.
So
But
it's a flat fee, but it's based on the
The
quantity.
The bottom line is how much electricity you use and how much does it cost you,
Yeah.
and you know, from year to year, and so it's kind of a tough one. I do want to go back to last night, and Anita Hoffman had sent an email last night, or maybe it was this morning.
She sent it last night.
And I read it. I guess I read it this morning at 5:30, and I didn't want to respond to her that early because I was, on my phone. And I'm just reading it again, and I think she sums it up. I wanted to, respond to her because basically she's saying, "Hey, if we don't have jail space, if we don't have courts, if we don't have everything else, and we just put more officers on the road, we don't really solve the problem." And I thought, she's so accurate, because if we don't do something about the jail, and we don't have accountability for people who, our officers, and it's frustrating for the officers, it's not only our sheriffs, but it's the small cities that can't, bring somebody to our jail. So I think that I didn't want to muddy the topic last night, but I think it came up once. That has got to be a real issue as to how we funded GPOD.
Yep, we got to get it open.
We got to get GPOD open, and then see how that helps with that. But if we were to double, the presentation you put up there and say, and there was probably 75% of people raised their hands that they would support doubling it.
Yep.
I mean, that's a stretch for us, right?
I think that's just a bigger process.
I think that you would definitely want to put it out and ask the question.
Yeah, that's a big process.
But we gotta figure out what's the balance, and talking with the sheriff and figuring out getting GPOD open, sustaining what we're already doing, and then seeing how that helps.
And work on the accountability piece.
Well, we got and Measure 110. In fact,
implementing
But that's the adult component, right? The thing we've never talked about is the juvenile component.
Is the what?
The juvenile component.
I wrote that down last night, and I don't want to get into it, but because you said things have changed in the last 9 years or whatever, however long it's been since we started this path. And one of the things that has changed is what is it, Measure 49? The
mandatory minimums.
They
eliminated those for juveniles.
They eliminated juvenile. So now you put the gun in the hands of a juvenile, and they don't have a mandatory sentence.
That's right.
So you've seen that, and just looking. Ooh, sheriff just walked in. I got to be careful. So just looking, Alicia was here. And what'd she say the other day? We had 24 juveniles in detention.
28.
Full.
28.
Basically a 32-bed facility with 28 full, and now we're full.
We used to run 8, 10.
That's right.
We always had places. So.
But the reality is our facility is full, and she warned us coming into the weekend that they were they have to look at who's in juvenile detention currently and their charges because they knew coming into the weekend there was going to be more crimes committed. And I'm not even joking you, on Friday evening, I don't know if you follow the sheriff's Facebook page, but an East Salem Service District supervisor and a deputy had a traffic stop, and they took 4 minors into custody. And those 4 minors had to be, after they were booked and whatever that entails, were released to their parents. But all of those kids had weapons on them. All of them were up to no good.
Yeah.
And while I appreciate the component of parents, I'm a parent, I definitely would be engaging my child. That is a concern for me as a parent and a person who lives in this community, because those kids were on their way to no good. And we couldn't actually hold them fully accountable and spend some time with them and understand their situation, because our system, our space was full. And it's full of very violent crimes. You know, the 16-year-old minor wa peer last week in Bush Park is in our juvenile detention center. There's an 11-year-old who shot a 12-year-old 3 weeks ago in our detention center. Like, the violent crimes that are going on across our community is profound and unfathomable. And we have to do something more, but it's not just we. This is what we talked about last night. We had a relief worker from juvenile detention present last night. She came because she's very passionate about this work and these juveniles. And she spoke, and she's frustrated, and she's like, the legislature is tying the hands of locals to be able to create livable communities for us to thrive in, and we have to make a difference and speak out. And this is such a big conversation. That was such a small part of it. But if we don't have those deputies, all hell is going to break loose over there, and that is just not okay.
Yeah,
So-
it's really heavy stuff. What is
Yeah.
not heavy is that Sunday is St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah, nice transition.
And that is a
Segue.
great day, and I hope everybody takes some time to celebrate it.
Well, we know you will be.
Or at least some people. At least those people who want to.
I'm gonna have somebody look at my deck on Friday from that tree that fell on it. That's what I'm doing.
I'm going to celebrate my anniversary.
Hey, there you go.
Monday is my
Congratulations.
anniversary.
That's a great
Well,
It is. I like the guy still, so there's that. It's a win.
okay, well, we have some follow-up to do from last night's meeting, and I'm sure we'll have some meetings to talk about that. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, we will adjourn.
Thank you. Hi.